So in this tutorial we're going to look at the operational reports which are available within Relay 360. Again, this tutorial is based on the assumption that you're using the Profit 360 account system, so you'll have access to these new reports. So in the operational reports, the following reports will be included. So a renewal list, client statements, debt chasing, client age debt, and a debt chaser report. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to look at the renewals list. So to run a renewals report, go into reports, client, and renewal list. So this is your options in terms of running the renewal list. You can run it by insurer, by product type and department and handler and so on. So as you can see, all of these are grayed out at the moment. So that means when you run the report, all of these items will be included. In order to run the report, you can normally run it by month. So if you just click on this drop down menu here, you can run it by whatever the particular month is. So if I was running it for February, I just select 02. Just note that when you run the report in this particular way, you will get policies obviously that are up in the current year, but you may get policies coming up that have an older renewal year or a renewal year maybe 2 years ahead. So this would indicate these premiums were posted incorrectly, and that's why I have these unusual years. So this is an opportunity to actually fix these policies with incorrect year types. So what we normally recommend is that you would run it by month first, and again, if there's any errors, you can pick them up. After you run the report, it's recommended that you run it by date range. So, for example, if I was running it for February this year, 2017, once I'm finished inviting, I should actually just come in here to date range and run it by date range only. The idea is that if you have invited all of your renewals, they will have moved on to 2018, because that's what happens in Relay. When you post a premium, it moves it on a year. So if I've invited my renewals, they will have all moved on. So therefore, when I run it by date range for this particular year, from the 1st to the 28th of February, nothing should show up. Of course, anything that does show up will basically mean that the policies have yet to be renewed. Likewise, if you wanted to actually see what policies you have renewed for this particular period of time, you actually just go in and just change the dates to 2018 to 2018. And again, any results that you get or any report you run in this way will show you what renewals you've actually renewed. So to run the report, just select your month. You can click preview, or you can click export and pull it into a spreadsheet, which is generally recommended for renewal reports. So this is a renewal report in Excel. You can see if I scroll across to the right, I get actually a lot of information about the different renewal policies. You may not need all of them, so what you can do here is you can actually put on filters onto your spreadsheet. If you wanted to select maybe just private motor only, then you could just select private motor, and it'll just give you your private motor policies. Likewise, if you wanted to sort them by renewal date, if you just select this little icon here and go into sort and filter, custom sort, and if you just pick renewal date and OK, and then it'll sort them by renewal date. Likewise, you can add in an extra column here. So if you do want to add in a column for your different renewal agents, you can just put in their names like this, and then you can just copy them down through the list, and what will happen then is they will be basically divvied up. So that's basically how you would run a renewals list in Relay. So again, just to recap, when you come into this particular section, all areas will be highlighted. But if you only want to see certain things, then you can select the relevant sections and pick, if it was just insurer you wanted to see, just pick benchmark in that example. Run it by month. After you've finished your inviting, you're renewed, just do a date range search for that particular period. You want to make sure you haven't missed anything. So again, any renewals that you have missed or have yet to be invited will turn up when you do a date range search. If you want to see anything that you've invited for that particular period of time, just run it by date range for the forthcoming year or the following year, and basically all the results will be the ones you've invited. So that's how you run a renewals list. So the next report we're going to look at is client statements. So if we go into just a client here, so you can see here I have a client on file, Joe Langan, and he has a debt, a total due of 813.33. So this client currently owes money. So if we want to generate a client statement, what we need to do here is just click on the statement button. And like all of our reports, a kind of a selection box opens up in terms of how you want to run the report. So you can run it by department and handler and particular date range and so on and so forth. So also in the client statement, you could actually run the report to include items that have actually been cleared. In addition, you can hide the zero balances or include provisionals. So assuming you just want to include everything that would be currently outstanding, just click on the preview button. And what happens is the system will generate the report. So you can see here it's generated a statement. In these particular reports, we can include your header and your footer on these statements. So they are crystal reports. It's not possible for you to add them in yourself, but if we had a JPEG of your header and your footer, we could include it at the top and the base of this report. So it pulls in his details, gives you a summary of his client code and handler, and then also a list then of all the debits. So you can see here, just on this particular example, I have a Joe Langan that we've done different business with. So we have done new business, we've confirmed a renewal, we've done some endorsements, and you can also see cash payments as well. So it lists all the debits and the credit, and it gives you a total due then of 813.33 in this particular example. So that's basically how you would generate a client statement. So generally the client statements will be used for sending statements to your commercial clients to advise them of outstanding balances. Just one thing to note, when you generate this particular report, it doesn't automatically save into the Documents tab of the client's file. So if you want to actually save it, when you're generating it, just make sure you tick that particular box, saved to Documents tab. And then once you're generated the report, it'll be saved into the Documents tab. So that's important. It doesn't save into the Documents tab automatically. You must save it in yourself by ticking that box. You will note, however, that if you tick the Save to Documents tab, you won't actually get an opportunity to preview the report. You'll only get an opportunity just to print it, but it will be saved here in the Documents tab. So you may want to have a look at it beforehand. So just untick and preview. And then after you've previewed it, actually it is stored in reports. And if you went to view stored reports, and you'd actually see it here as well. So there's two ways you can go there in terms of just saving in the Documents tab, but it'll just print without preview. Or as I said here, if you just decide to leave it unticked to save the documents, you can have a look at it and print it then, and then also it'll be saved in view stored reports. So up here. So again, view stored reports in reports and view stored reports. So we're going to move on now. We're going to look at the reports that revolve around the area of debt chasing. So we've three different kind of reports or tools that you can use here, again in Profit 360. So the first one we're going to look at is an account reminders. So what happens is this allows you to print off letters to remind customers of outstanding monies. So whereas the client statement is done on an individual basis, if we go into reports and daily and account reminders, you can run it by diary, or most likely you'll use transaction. So basically what it allows you to do is batch print letters to customers who have monies outstanding, and then you can just obviously put them in envelopes and send them off. So when you actually come in here, you'll have some options in terms of, do you want to target specific customers who meet certain criteria in terms of renewal date or transaction dates. So again, if you do, you can just basically pick transaction date and pick your dates. Also, you can decide to include or exclude, people who are doing renewals or new business. And also you can run it by department and handler. So I'm just going to work on the assumption here that you would want to see everything, all your customers who owe you money. So just leave it, everything ticked as it is, click filter, and the system will generate everybody who currently owes you money. So you can see here, just here, I have a lot in my demo system. So if I scroll across to the right, I can actually see the payment type. So one thing you might want to do here is actually exclude people who are installments, because that would mean they're basically on finance. So you wouldn't actually be chasing them. So yeah, just on the right hand side, just pick on payment type, and you can actually exclude them. So you can click on payment type, sort them, and then you can actually highlight the ones you actually want to print. So instead of including direct, just an example, I just highlight the normals and just go with the ones that I've selected. So that's how I would exclude installments if that was the case. again, if you're using this particular feature, you must have set up a report, or sorry, a letter in your letter suite for this purpose. So like a debt chaser report or debt chaser letter. So that should include the relevant merge codes that we would normally include in our letters, so that it pulls in all the relevant information. So if you need help with that, just contact customer service and we can give you advice. Down the bottom here, you click your letter, your printer, and then change letter. So the idea is here, you go into your letter suite, and you could actually pick a relevant letter. So again, it might be in client, and instead of chase renewal, you might have chase debt letter set up. Once you've selected all the ones you want, either by selecting all, or as I did there earlier, if you just press Control Shift down, you can select the ones you want. Once you're finished, just click print. So the purpose of the account reminders facility is to allow you to batch print letters to send to customers who basically have outstanding premiums to be paid. So rather than going in and generating client statements one at a time, you can just basically go in here and just run them all off. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at the next report, which is the client age debt. So again, this is a debtors report, and this report shows how much your clients owe you and for how long. So to run this off, just go into reports and client, and then client age debt. So client age debt. So again, just like our other reports, you have options in terms of how you can decide to run it. So you can decide to run it for a certain date range, for certain clients. So you can put in a client range, or just one particular client if you want it. So you can go in here and you could search for your clients and just select it. But most likely, obviously, you would run this with this not tick, because you want to include all your debtors. You can actually run it as a debtors report, but also as a creditors report. So not only can you run it and show all the customers who owe you money, you can do it the other way around by selecting credit report. Okay, so that's important there, just about client age debt, because we do get asked that query about can we run a creditors report. You can decide to include provisionals or not, and that's important because you might not want to chase up in provisional renewals. But if you do, just make sure include provisional premiums is ticked. Again, like most of our reports, you can select a particular department or particular handlers if you want. So I'm just going to run an overall client age debt without any selections here. Just click so I can preview it. Again, it would preview it in PDF, or I might want to do is pull it out into a spreadsheet. So most of these debtors reports, you'd want to actually pull them out into a spreadsheet so you can have a good look at them. So when you generate the report in Excel, there'll actually be two tabs down at the base. So the first one is age debt totals. So basically it gives you a summary of figures for each individual client. Okay, so it's just basically overall figures for each individual one. So again, if I just look at Joe Langan and scroll across, then I can see again how much he owes in total. So 813.33, and that's the current amount. And there's also an unallocated amount here in this example. And then it gives you kind of a debtor, so how many months the monies have been outstanding. Okay. So that first tab is just a summary in terms of how much each individual client owes you. But if you want a breakdown of those figures, if you just go into age debt, and then you can see here Joe, there's the 4 or 5 transactions that make up the debt that he owes. So again, I can scroll across and I can see each one and the figures that make up the total that he owes us. So you can see here, if I total these, I get that 813.33, which is currently outstanding. So there's debits and credits there on the file, which make up the figure. So as I said there, this report gives you two tabs. The first one is a summary report for each individual client, and gives you overall figures. And then the age debt, if you go into it, gives you an actual transactions, each individual transactions, which make up the report. So the next operational report we want to look at is that of the debt chaser report. So it's a similar report to a client age debt, but it's more suited for agents rather than kind of directors or high level management, because on the debt chaser report it includes all their kind of contact information like phone numbers and emails. So it's designed for the debt chaser to be run by handler or broken up by handler through the use of filters on spreadsheets and then handed out. Okay, so a debt chaser report is an operational report that should be run regularly to chase debtors. Okay, this is a report that should be used because it'll basically help the reconciliation process when the insurer statements come in. So obviously, the more debts that have been cleared and paid, then the more transactions that you the broker can reconcile with your insurers. So this report should be run at least once a week, and again, you should have your staff, if applicable, chasing the debts up. So to run that off, just go into reports and client and debt chaser report. Again, you've got choices in terms of how you want to run it. Again, you can normally run it by effective date up to a certain point. So again, you can run it for the next couple of months or whatever you want. So you have posting date or effective date, which works off the inception and renewal dates. Again, if you preview it, we get a summary report. Okay, so again, gives you a summary report and tells you the amount outstanding for that particular client who meets that criteria. So in that case, I just ran it by effective date, and I just had Joe Langan coming in here. So it gives you amount owing, amount paid, outstanding, and then the net premium and commission and fees. Kind of a breakdown here at the end of outstanding. Alternatively, what I could do there is click on export and use Excel and OK. And it gives me similar figures. So just scroll across. So amount outstanding is 550. And then if I scroll across here, I'll get his contact details. So for chasing up. So that concludes the operational reports review. Then we've looked at the renewal list, and we looked at client statements, and then we looked at the three debt chasing reports or features. So the account reminders, and client age debt, and the debt chaser report. So again, those reports, you'll find them in reports and clients. So there's the renewal list, client age debt, debt chaser, and daily and accounts reminders by transaction would allow you to batch print off letters to chase up on outstanding debts. So that concludes this tutorial. Thank you.